Welcome to the Champion Stepdad podcast. We are exploring the unique role of stepdads and how to apply performance psychology skills to become better father figures and role models. Check out the Champion Stepdad Facebook group and build your band of brothers. I'm your host, Neil Wattier. I'm a 16-year stepdad. I'm also a resilience trainer and a performance consultant. Joined today by James Golden. He's been on the podcast several times, and he is quickly becoming one of my go-to brothers. Our conversation today hits on the message I received concerning filling the void of others while maintaining the masculine father figure role. Here's my conversation with James Golden. So this conversation came up because I actually had somebody hit me up, and it was exactly the message that I sent you. It basically comes down to how do I be, because he's from India, and I'm not too familiar with Indian culture, but I know some of those cultures are, heavy masculinity and assumed, and his question was, well, how do I be a loving, caring dad to fill that gap if the mom's not around, but still be, the masculine tough guy. Yep. And so I think it's an interesting conversation that we still have this feeling like in order to be seen as a masculine, traditional, tough guy, whatever you want to call the man. And there's still this disconnect of how do I connect with my kids? And last week I did kind of on my own. I just did this. I hit record and I just started like vomit mouth of my ideas. And basically what I kind of got to was, first of all, why are you trying to fill the gap of somebody else? You can't fill the absence of somebody else. All you can do is be the best version of yourself. And second of all, why does being a masculine, a man, mean that you can't be loving, connected, and emotionally available?
1,000,000%. That's what I was actually going to kind of talk about was you have to be real to yourself. Your job, male, female, we can go into the other side of all that stuff too. You know what I mean? Is to be the best version of yourself. And what that requires is honestly looking within. So like to this individual, to stop the focus on masculinity and start to focus on, or what void, do I have to go try to fill, and focus on your strengths. That's one thing that I would say, number one, or what are your strengths in your family dynamic, in the house, as a dad, as a stepdad, as a coach, as a employee, as an owner, whatever it is, you got to identify what those strengths are. Okay. Then you got to recognize what your weaknesses are too, as well. I'm sure you do a lot with your resilience training, you know what I mean? And double down on your strengths and then work with your partner on the weaknesses. And I know this is simple cookie cutter and things like that, but that's something that we've done in our family is like, look, I am not Mr. Compassion. Would I like to be? Sure. There's days I would love to have compassion for all my kids, but I don't. My patience runs thin. I don't understand why they don't just go do the work. You know what I mean? And that's where I have to recognize, how do I get my message out there, masculine, and that's me, from a position of, we don't have excuses in our family, but I recognize you're going through something here. Let's take a step back and let's talk about that. And then I know how to go tag my partner when I need to and say, I'm not cut out for this. I think she is needing something else here. Come on and fill that, not fill that role, but go be you. Go double down on your weaknesses. That's our strengths, which are compassion.
I love that. So that idea that it's not, and I like that you corrected yourself, that it's not necessarily a role. Like, this is my role and that's outside my lane, so you go fill that role. And I'm thinking that, if my 7-year-old stepson comes to me and he's having a tough day, why can't I just let him snuggle on me and talk to him? Like, I don't need to send him to his mom to do that. I can do that just as well. No, I care about him. Why can't I show him love and compassion? And then when he's over that and now he wants to go back to wrestling or playing football or, riding bikes or go getting dirty, great, let's go do it. I'm available. I can do both of those. I don't have to fill a role. My role is to being a loving, caring, connected father figure and go do all the fun shit.
Absolutely, man. You're right. This isn't a company. You're running a family, you know,
right.
In a business setting. Sure, man. We got roles, responsibility, task, delegation, all those different types of things. At the home, it's a little bit different. You know, the challenge is like when you're like, hey, I want to actually pour in some love and effort here. Let them snuggle up on me. Like that's you being you, doubling down on you, right? Versus someone else out there that maybe they don't carry that though. That's something to consider, is because there are men out there that don't know how to do that very well. Correct. Hence the question that came in, I think, you know, it's like, well, I don't know how to go do that. How am I supposed to fill that void? I think that's what the real question is, when I'm supposed to still be masculine. Right. And I think you said it best over there. And I think we're saying the same thing, really. It's like, don't feel the pressure that you can't let down your guard and put your arms around your kid or your stepkid. If that's what they need in that moment, it's your job to suck it up and do it to the best of your ability. They need something. I've been there because it's not comfortable to me to go do that. It just isn't. It's not comfortable for when I have my son or my daughter, stepson or stepdaughter to come to me and they're having a bad day. I'm like, oh, come here, man. Just give me a big old hug. Neil, just give me a big old hug, buddy. It's going to be all right. It's not here top of mind to do that. But I know when I need to do it. Okay.
Right.
And I do it to the best of my ability at that time to show that I am caring about it. And then, you know, we open up some conversation if need be, that's fine. But then I can go to my partner after this type of event and say, hey, I think so-and-so needs a little bit of TLC over here. Here's the situation that I recognize. Here's what I did, you know, because you're co-parenting. You still need to do it together, in my opinion. It does just need to be like an isolated situation. Like, you know, my wife is completely removed. Men want to do this sometimes, right? Solve problems.
Yeah.
I know I do. I'm always trying to solve problems. But instead of trying to solve the problem, address the need to the best of your ability, double down on your strength, but then go have that conversation.
Sorry, I'm having trouble.
Siri. Because I think some
she
guys
doesn't know what you're talking about.
Right. Well, because I think sometimes guys will think, "Oh, problem solved, man. I gave my kid a hug today. Let's move on."
Yeah, check the box.
Check the box. Hug. Done. I filled the void. I did I fulfilled it. I was masculine and feminine all at the same time. You know, not necessarily, man. But I think it's very important to, and it took me a lot of years. My oldest is 23. My youngest is 11. Okay. There's a huge gap in between those two. 12, 13 years, basically. Right. That was 12, 13 years of growing as a person, because the 23-year-old had a different dad than the 11-year-old does today, which now that I'm getting older, I have to reflect on that and say, damn, that kind of sucks, because the things that you and I are talking about, we weren't talking about that 12 years ago.
Yeah, same. I got a 22 and a 25-year-old biological children. Yep. I've got a 19-year-old stepson from a previous relationship. Now I've got a 7 and a 9-year-old. That's a significant gap, a lot of growth, but I'm finding myself, even up until this last weekend, like, and I feel like I'm talking about the same shit over and over again, which is driving me crazy. That and partially because I wasn't feeling well. I haven't been getting good sleep, and it carried over into, and then plus with, you and I both chasing business, like there's some frustration there, it carries over. And I was not pleasant this last weekend. And, and it frustrates the hell out of me, because I look back and I'm like, what the hell was my problem? But in the moment, trying to get myself snapped out of it. So trying to utilize this thing. And I guess the reason why I say that is it's almost like constant reminder that guys like you and I aren't trying to stand here and tell people how to do it, because we're trying to figure it out as we go, just the same as everybody else. But that's what makes this so powerful, is that you and I can call each other up on a random day and be like, look, man, this is what I got going on. And like, I don't need you to fix my shit. I just need to have a conversation with somebody so I can make sure that, look, I'm not crazy. I'm just struggling like everybody else.
Yes. And that's the value of this group and this initiative and this effort, man. And it's just going to take, obviously, a little bit more time, to get that message out there. You're doing a hell of a job on that, trying to support all this, because more and more guys need to realize that it's okay to actually call up your buddy. dude, 42 years old, be 43 next month, man. I don't really recall picking up the phone or even a text message. Like, I'll just use Neil as an example, right? Hey, buddy, Neil, I'm struggling today, man. Can I talk to you? Never done it. You know, I'm just now starting to learn that when I do that, dude, I feel great. I actually feel good about it because I think we were brought up. A lot of us were, as men, were brought up to kind of hold a lot of that type of stuff in. You know, be strong, be resilient, go do the work. You know, put your head down, take it up the, you know, and just keep moving forward. Right. That's a lot of my mentality. That was my kind of growing up, my childhood.
Right.
And that molded me to the good in many ways. You know. Very many ways. God, if something goes wrong, I'd like to think I'm the first person people are looking at in a situation like, shit, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Let's figure it out. Right. And it's not always about having the right answer. It's about taking some kind of action. Taking action. But even like you talked about, you know, this last weekend, you were like, look, dude, we were trying to connect last week and you're like, hey man, I got to push this thing off. But that's cool because having that connection means I've been there. Okay, great. You know, and you were apologetic and all that, but really it comes down to if I'm going to, accountability is not just, I'm going to make sure you're taking massive action. It's also, dude, you need a down day, go get that down day. That's accountability also.
Let me tell you something, man. I know we both have coaches in our lives and we're coaches as well. I was talking with one of my first coaches not that long ago. And I remember something he had said to me. We were talking about this. There was some time that had passed and I saw him at an event and he said, hey man, how are you doing? I said, well, I'm doing pretty good. You know, it's maybe more mentor at this stage, to be honest with you, versus coach. And I said, yeah, I'm doing pretty good, man. I said, yeah, I haven't heard from you. He was like, I haven't heard from you. And he pointed the finger right at me. I was like, oh shit, there it is, deep down within, right? Because accountability is a two-way street. It isn't just like you said. It isn't just like, okay, Neil, let's hop on the call today. I'm going to check all your boxes and make sure that you're doing them. Nah, man. It
can't be that robotic. It can't be robotic. There might be a process to it.
Yes.
There's got to be, you know, relationship means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And when we talk about guys building relationships, it can look like a lot of things. It doesn't have to be one thing. It's your personality meshed with another's personality, caring about each other, talking about what really matters, joking when you need to joke, you know, or when you can. But then when it comes down to it, it's really having those conversations, and it's powerful to have those things. And I appreciate the ability to call you up and to have the conversations and to just be honest with each other. Like, why are we going to bullshit? It's unnecessary.
It's not necessary, man. Transparency. You know, our parents taught us that honesty is the best policy. I still believe in that today. It's one of my core values. Yeah. There is zero gain in lying to yourself, or more important, probably to yourself first and foremost, but to others for any specific reason whatsoever. It's the old conversation like, hey man, how you doing today? Good. How you doing? Good. And then there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, no, man, you know, it should be like, hey, you know, I'm doing good overall, but you know, so I tell you, like, what's something you're dealing with today? You know, a lot of the conversation with my friends nowadays, when I'm out traveling or, you know, to be honest with you, a lot of my friends are remote nowadays. I had to level up my circle every step of the way as I was getting older. And sometimes your local community, I mean, hell, I know you're on the Pacific time out there. Is it Oregon?
I'm in Arizona. I'm in Phoenix.
Arizona, you had to think about it. I mean, I'm in Ohio. I mean, we're in two completely different time zones.
Yep.
Connecting and having quality conversations and leveling each other up, man. I had to do that locally to the best of my ability, but that's what those conversations look like now. It's not just like, hey, what's up? Nothing. What are you up to? No, not much. How are the wife and kid? I mean, we don't do that a lot anymore. It's more along the lines of like, man, what's some wins? You know, what's been going on lately? How's business? How are things with the kids? You know, where are you winning in life? Because when you can start celebrating those types of things and be comfortable talking about those, you know, I'm a humble person. I'm not out here, you know, we were taught not to brag or anything like that. But geez, man, like Wouldn't it be nice to call up your buddy and say, hey man, I worked hard, hit all my Q3 goals, and I was able to get that goal? Like, yes. And then the person on their end is actually genuinely happy and excited for you about that. That's a relationship. A lot of us are being humble and putting stuff out there, and the people around us are saying, you're bragging. When's enough? And it doesn't have to be about the riches or the Lamborghinis, man. I'm just talking about basic shit in life. Okay.
Little successes, man.
Like they say, haters going to hate. So when you can connect with people and you have a community, you can come together and share your experiences. And it really is a safe place. And people really have your back. That's pretty powerful. There were many days in my life, especially being as a dad at 19 years old, I didn't know what I was doing. I don't even know if I know what I'm doing now. But, but especially as a very young man, I didn't have anyone in terms of a friendship scenario that I could talk to about that. Yeah. None. Zero.
Well, and I want to get back to this. So this specific message that I receive, and man, I hope this guy could hit me up sometime, because if I'm butchering his name, I really apologize. Anup Sharma from India. The specific message was how do men deal with being masculine father figures and caregivers in a situation where the spouse isn't with them. And he uses the phrase psychic dissonance. I use the term cognitive dissonance. Basically, what he's talking about is what you're trying to do, what the thought process might be conflicting with your belief system, because your belief system comes from your past, part biology, part nurture, part nature, part nurture, and the role expectations and the cultural expectations and the influencers that you've had have created this belief system in you, right? They've influenced you in one way or another. And you have these shoulds. We all have shoulds, right? The world, the way the world should work, right? Or the way people should act, or the things that they shouldn't do, right? That's kind of how we view the world. If you find yourself saying, well, they shouldn't do this, or it should work out this way, that's your belief system being coming out in your thoughts and your words, possibly in your actions. So essentially what he's talking about is the struggle. We talked a little bit about that earlier, the struggle of, if I'm a single dad, or in this case of I'm a stepdad, and what's my role and how do I fit into all this, and having that conflict inside of you of maybe role expectations. And I think the number one thing that I like to share with people is your brain wants to create shortcuts. And if you think of the amount of information that your brain pulls in, you can't possibly process, store, and recall all that data that your senses, your fingers and your eyes and your ears and nose and your mouth, like all the senses that you pull in. And so your brain wants to take shortcuts. And I know I don't want to get too deep into that, but essentially what we're talking about is that you create habits. And the more you experience, especially if you see something that confirms what you already believe, it now becomes evidence. And so your belief system becomes even stronger. And so we have this belief system that men are supposed to be, right? And the shoulds, men should be a certain way, right? And so how do I fill that gap? And I think there's number one, you're setting yourself up for failure because you're trying to be something you're not. You're trying to fill the role of somebody you are not. But also that's so limiting, because essentially what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a box, in a certain role, and saying, well, I need to fill this because they're missing out on it. And I need to become something I'm not. And I think that we kind of addressed that a little bit, that you don't necessarily need to be anything that you're not. You just need to be the best version of yourself. Double down on what you're really, really good at. Mm-hmm. And I think there's something to be said for, maybe you don't need to fill the box. Maybe you don't need to fill that role, because you know what? It's reality. If you're a single dad raising a child, all you can do is the best you can do. And the fact that that child is going to miss out on something from another parent, I don't want to say it's a harsh reality, but it's a reality. I don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to soften blow of life. Like, I want to set you up to be the best adult that you can be. That's my job, right? To raise little humans into big humans. And I can help you through it, but regardless of how hard I try, there's gonna be something missing. And if I try to overcompensate, I might actually make it worse.
Yeah, I think the best thing that we all need to realize, I mean, that's really good stuff, Neil. We're all missing something, man. None of us are complete. None of us. Fair?
Yeah.
So when we take a look at societal belief systems, this man's from India, we're in America right now. They even have different West Coast, East Coast. There's all this different stuff that society wants to pressure you and put on you. You have single parent dynamics. You have a wide variety of different dynamics. What I would say, though, is like you take the single parent situation, your best you in that situation is a lot of times or oftentimes better than an actual couple, man or man, I don't really care, family dynamic that are half-assing it or don't have intention or don't have a value system or don't care or are mean or are putting we can name all these different things. So when you take the pressure off of yourself and stop saying, I have to figure out how to also be a mom or also how to be nurturing. No, man, you don't have to figure that out. You just have to figure out what your core belief system is, what your core values are. That's how I look at it. We have a we have a family belief system, man, in terms of core values. I'm not talking about gods and universes and spirituality right now. I'm really just talking about, hey, what are the core values within this family? And when things aren't going toward the core value, there's a little bit of a checks and balances system in there. And if you're the single parent, you got to do it yourself. You got to go look in the mirror. It is what it is, because I've been there. I've been a single parent for a short period of time when I went through a divorce. I want to take the easy way out. You talk about shortcuts. I want to take the easy way out, especially in a lot of parenting situations. And I did. I'm human just like the rest of us. But there were also plenty of times I had to go look in the mirror and say, James, it's you, man. You're the guy. There's no one else here to do this right now. You got to go do that. You're not going to like it. Rip the Band-Aid off. Go get it done. It's in the best interest. It's you being the best version of yourself. And if you're being the best version of yourself, that is the only route and path for those kids to get there too. And I know it because I told you, I got this big gap between ages and I've watched it. You know what I mean? So create a core value system within yourself, within your family. If it's just you, if you're just the guy or you're just the girl, you're going to have to do it. But don't put that pressure on yourself of, I'm lacking this, I'm lacking that, because I really do believe, I think we all know it, there are many two-parent households out there that are lacking all the way around. So your best effort every day is better than a half-assed effort times two.
Well, and there's also the idea of, extended, the idea of it takes a village to raise a child. Even in a two-parent household, you should, right? Again,
Yep.
just trying to make sure I identify my belief is you should have some type of extended network. So my two adult children who, I'm in Arizona, they're living in Nebraska. If they need something immediately, right, where they're going to call me and I'm going to do something to help them out. You're broken down on the side of the road, right? I can't do anything for you. I know for a fact that I have three of my close guy friends that they could call. They were raised around them. They're comfortable around them, and they know that they can call them. And that's not only a good resource for me, but it's comforting to know that my kids know they can call any of these three guys because they're good friends of mine. I trust them. They trust them. But we built that over time. If you don't have that, that's part of the band of brothers that I'm talking about. If you don't have anybody that you can go to, who are your kids going to go to, right? Who else are their father figures, their role models, or in this case, maybe mother figures, right? Who are you raising your kids around so that they have somebody, so that it doesn't have to be you all the time? No, you can only be the best version of yourself. You can only do so much, and if you try to overcompensate, you're going to miss something, or you're not going to be focused on your strengths. where you can do the most, right? Doubling down on your strengths is so much better than trying to compensate and focus on something that you're weak at. So who is that? Where's that village? And if you don't have it, you really do need to. And I know it sounds so, I don't know what it's not, I don't want to say condescending, but you can't do this by yourself. Even a 2-parent household should not be trying to do that by themselves, because you're limiting the network of your children. Who are you raising your children around?
Yeah. And I like something you said there too, because first of all, I agree with 100% of that, but we also have to recognize and realize that sometimes it's not our immediate family members that are that village either. Like you said, I know right now, if my daughter out in Nebraska has got a situation, I've got 1 of 3 friends, is what you said.
Yes.
We can go, you didn't say uncle, third cousin, you said friends. And I think that's important to recognize, because sometimes, unfortunately, I hate to throw this out there, but our immediate family are not the ones that do have our back or our best interests at heart with our family. They just aren't. Nice. So reliability, someone like you said, the band of brothers, they've got your back. I'm with you, man. I'm very blessed to know same situation, man. Something goes down, something's going on. We've got a network. We've got a close-knit family of friends that we can look to. And it's not 55 friends, folks. It's about 3. Okay.
Yep.
Because your village doesn't have to be, that's why it's called a village. Neil didn't say find a city, find a tribe, small group. That's what a lot of this stuff is too. Like Champion Stepdad, you can come in here and connect with real people, right? Gain real relationships and start, and that those people have your back.
And speaking of that, you do a really good job of supporting what I'm trying to do, what we as a community are trying to build. Yeah. So I know that you also have, like, you're a business professional and you have your own group that you've been working on. And I know I've brought it up before. I'm not here just to promote only what I'm doing. What are you doing? We talk about building a band of brothers. I want to make sure that there's options and help other people as well. What is it that you're doing with your group?
I appreciate that. So similar concept, in here, I've got all this experience of life, just like the rest of us that are listening to this do. And I said, you know what? I'm looking back on my life, and there's a big range of years where I really didn't have anyone to reach out to, connect with. I didn't think anyone really had my back, except a few immediate, like my mom and dad. You know what I mean? One of my best friends. I went through a divorce. And what I learned in that divorce is it was great for me because I was forced to really think about myself. I didn't put all the time, effort, and attention on what that individual did wrong. It was all about what did I do? How could I get better at that? And you're staring at the guy 13 years later who's been working on it. Okay. But along that way, I realized I've lost a lot of people. You lose relationships. It's a big word. And I realized that, what? About 99% of those relationships I lost were absolutely for the better. It doesn't mean they were bad people. It just means they weren't going to help me grow. Okay. So through the growth process, I realized, man, I got to find your tribe or build your tribe. That's something that I've said for the last several years. On my local area, I didn't really know a lot of people out here. I didn't have those connections. So I started looking for it and seeking it. And I say all that to say, I'm starting to do that online, through my own community. I've been involved with different business type networks for business and networking, which is great. And I said, you know what? How do I bring something together where we can do a little bit of both? You don't have to be a business entrepreneur, owner, none of that stuff. I mean, if you are great, just are you a high performer in life? Are you goal oriented? Do you live by the golden rule? My last name is Golden, right? I mean, so pretty straightforward. I'm just kind of merging those things together because I live by the golden rule and I am goal oriented in all aspects of my life. You and I have that common connection, right? Trying to be the most elite version of ourselves. And part of that is recognizing that we don't always have it right. We're going to be pretty pissed off on some weekends, even if it's a Father's Day weekend. Things happen in our life. We need value-based connections in our life that we can rely upon, reach out to. Sometimes it's just a direct message, or it could be a quote or a meme, or it doesn't matter. Or it's a happy hour. I hosted a happy hour the other day. You got, I don't know, out of 150 people in a Facebook group, 6 people show up. You know what? But it was great. The 6 people that showed up, we had a great time for an hour and a half. You know what I mean? All over the country. They don't have to be in your backyard. But that's what the Golden Collective is. Goalden, Golden Collective. It's really just a group of like-minded high performers that are goal-oriented, and they live by the golden rule, trying to help each other, level each other up, trying to build a community, same concept.
And you had, we hopped on almost like a social hour. Like it wasn't even like a presentation or training. And you hopped on, you hosted an online Zoom call, and we all just hopped on and introduced ourselves and just did it for a little while.
Just kind of hung out, because we don't have to have all these pressures when you're in this virtual world or networking world. Like it's all got to be like, today I'm going to teach you on how to do X, Y, and Z. Okay. Sure, there's time and places for those things. There's also time and places for, you know what? Hey, what's up, everybody? Who out there right now just needs a bourbon? Hop on tonight at 5 o'clock and let's just hang out and just bullshit, for lack of a better way of saying it. Because I call it I call it the campfire. Okay. So how many times have you been at a campfire? Many times in your life, I'm assuming, right? That you've been around a campfire. Who's at your campfire? It's people that you know, like, and trust. More than likely, correct?
Yep.
It's a bonfire with your buddies, your friends, your family, whatever it is. And what's going on? You're just socializing, man. I don't know how many times I've sat around a campfire and I've solved all the world's problems with 3 of my buddies, right?
Right.
Just hanging out, having a cigar, and in my case, having a bourbon. I like my bourbon, okay? Having a beer, having a water. You don't have to drink. My point is, it's that letting your guard down, coming together, small group, things come up. You start learning a little bit more about each other. Conversations come up, problems come up, whether it's Neil's direct problem or it's the universe's problem. We're going to solve this damn thing tonight. But the goal isn't to solve it, if that makes sense, right? The goal at you're not solving the problem. You think you are, but you're getting the message out. You're getting the conversation out. You're getting the stress out. You're getting the frustration. You're getting it all out. And that's how I look at the Golden Collective. That's really my goal for it, is to be more of a mentorship type of thing. People can come in. It's a safe place. They can ask questions. It doesn't have to be like so-and-so is an industry expert on sales. We're going to do a training tonight on how to sell. No, I'm not doing that. Now, if that gets requested and the group grows and grows and grows, well, sure, we'll do those things, right? But day one, that's the game plan, man, is create a safe space. Like I said, find your tribe or build your tribe. I think it's great for everyone to do that. This is a part of my tribe right here. Golden Collective is just kind of the tribe that I lead. This is the tribe that I joined. You see what I'm saying? Like, you need to have both in your life. It's okay to be a leader. It's a lot of pressure sometimes, whether we're in our households or in a small little group online. But you want to have both sides. You want to be able to lead an effort at the same time, come on into one and join one and contribute.
What's up, guys? I'm breaking in for just a couple minutes to share something with you. Although I've been a dad for 25 years, I've been a stepdad for 19. I'm a resilience trainer and a performance consultant, and I'm studying performance psychology. I am still struggling to put all of this together. I'm fighting to overcome my past experiences and their influence on my thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Champion Stepdad is for all of us, a space for empathy and accountability, an opportunity to become better father figures and role models. Athletes use mental skills to become better competitors. We can use the same skills to become more mentally strong and emotionally connected to our spouses and our children while building a meaningful band of brothers. If you find value in the free Champion Stepdad Facebook group and this podcast, consider the additional training you would receive in the membership group. At only $21 a month, it provides detailed mental skills training to improve your performance in every area of your life. For more information, check out championstepdad.com or shoot me a message and let's talk about it. Well, and I think that's important too, is we don't always have to be in control and in charge. I've been a fitness professional before. I got paid to train people, in physical fitness, and being in the U.S. military for a long time. I used that knowledge to help train other tactical athletes, like I call them. And now it's to the point where, even later today, I'm going to the gym. I'm paying a trainer. I don't need to pay that person. I just like the idea of, I just want to show up and be told what to do, and I don't want to spend hours at home making my plan. And I know I can. I've done it for years, but now it's to the point where I've got other things that I want to do. My time is valuable. I'm trying to accomplish something. I want to turn that control over to somebody else, knowing that when I show up, we're going to modify, we're going to figure it out. He's got my best interest in mind. I trust him. I'm going to show up, we're going to get it done, and then I'm going to come home. I don't have to think about it. I just want to show up and do what I'm told, right? And that's okay. I don't have to be that and show up and be like, look, I did this all myself. Like, okay, well, I didn't want to.
I want to piggyback off that because it's such an amazing point and great point that you just brought up. Absolutely in the family dynamic as well, especially as men. Sometimes we're looked to do everything, like, oh, well, this task needs taken care of. I'm gonna get it done. I can get it done. That's where the honeydew list was created, correct? I mean, that's why it came into existence, is because, and I'm not trying to be, get into the societal stuff, but going way back into the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, post-World War II, we have these beautiful homes now. We've got all these things that need to get done around the home, and we're being tasked to get them taken care of. I love what you just said, because people don't understand that sometimes. It's like, James, why don't you just go do this? I'm like, I don't have the time to do that. Well, we could just knock it out over the next couple of weekends. Well, I understand that, but I want it done now, and I will pay someone to go do it for me, because, contracts, blah, 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 but make sure it gets done the right way. I'm going through it right now. We just built a home, and that's great. The home's brand new, but everything else needs done. Landscaping. We got things that need removed from the property. We've got excavation. Unfortunately, I have a good group of friends, they're kind of like, hey, let's just go hire all this, just go rent all the equipment. We'll go knock it out. And then I'm like, I don't have 12 hours running a Bobcat on a Saturday. I just don't. And even if I did, let's talk about family real quick. What's more important? When you're living in a world of stress and work and all that stuff, and, would you rather go to maybe the zoo or the movies with your kids, or have them stare out the window on their devices while you're running a Bobcat for 8 hours? I mean, you have to think about that shit, man. And I try to do that. I value the two. Like, where are my time and efforts needed, and where are they not? Last weekend, I just finished laying about 1,800 square foot of flooring in my basement, my new basement. And that was one of the tasks where I walked away from them. I'm like, oh my God, I should not have done this. It wasn't worth my time. I'm sore. I'm tired. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have done it. I should have just paid somebody that $2 a square foot, knocked it out, $2,000 well spent.
Yep.
And then if there's people on the other side of that, I'm like, well, I don't have that other $2,000. Well, maybe you shouldn't be remodeling something, or maybe, you know what I mean? It's okay. The point is, because I don't want to do something that I do have the capability of doing, I'm not a bad person. I'm just maximizing my time and my efforts that could be better used somewhere else. And the other side of that is, if someone else is someone that says, no, I like to do all the work myself, that's fine. I'm not going to judge that either. Just recognize that you're more than likely taking away from time that could be better spent doing other things.
And I think that's the important thing, is the intentionality. I talk a lot in resilience about moving from default to deliberate. Don't make default decisions. And I think that's where the original conversation came from, is people like, well, I feel the societal pressure to be this way, or to do this thing. Or in the case of, I'm a single dad, how do I compensate? Stop doing the default actions. Stop with the default thoughts and beliefs. And that's why I brought up the whole thing about how the brain just makes shortcuts based on your experiences, all the information that's gathered. You may not even be making the logical decision. You might just be going off automatic, because this is what your brain is programmed to think and do. And the more you can be intentional, if you want to go, if you enjoy being on that backhoe for 8 hours and you want to go do that, and that's your relaxed time, knock yourself out. If you enjoy laying flooring or building houses or whatever it is, that's great. Just make sure you understand the decision that you're making. And yes, if you make that decision, you might be saving some money, but how much time are you taking away from your family? No judgment. Whatever your decision is, that's great. I just want to make sure that you're making a well-informed, intentional decision, so that when you look back 2 years from now, you can be like, I got a beautiful house, but I spent no time with my kids.
That's right, man.
I'm no judgment. I don't care either way. I just
No.
want to make sure that you're making a good decision.
Dude, I love that, because we, from a societal belief system, we're also, save money, save money, save money. You know what I mean? And I think we have to start looking at things a little bit differently. Looking at, is your time is money. We've heard that saying many, many times, especially when you're a family, especially in a family dynamic where you have stepchildren or you're a single parent. Now, all of a sudden, your time is even more valuable to that family, right? So you're right. If you enjoy doing those things, by all means, go do them. Maybe find ways to get your kids involved in projects, of course. But at the same time, if you're doing it just to save a buck, intentionality, you said that, I really like that. Default versus deliberate, great stuff. You know what I mean? This will kind of resonate a little bit when you were talking. You said something about a program. Default. For a living, basically what my company does is we develop pavement management programs for cities. Okay, it involves software, dollars and cents. It's like financial planning for roadway networks, right? And we use software. We use a system, and guess what that system has right out of the box? Defaults. It's got default settings, man, just like any other system you can come up with in the world. What happens when you take something out of the box and you leverage the defaults to try to put that into your own life? You do not get a good end result. It's not to your expectation, okay? You have to take the time, effort, through intention to set up the program to get the result that you're looking to get your goal, the end goal, whatever. So I just thought it was interesting because that gave a click for me. I was like, well, shit, man, that's kind of what, you just go with the defaults. We don't get a good result. We know we're not going to get a good result, but it works.
That's probably one of the first things I do, whether it's, an iPhone or, any other electronic device. One of the first things I do, I'm a little bit of a techie guy. Like the first thing I do is I go to the settings, what can I customize to make this my device?
And I think that's the problem, is that our settings are internal. You actually have to think about it and you have to take action against it. You're not just clicking, pointing, and clicking. You can't just plug yourself into a USB or a Type-C port and create the settings, can you? Yep. You actually have to do all the effort and the work. Sometimes it requires some conversations with other people too, but I'm someone that has been doing that. I can tell you that. If there was a program for programming yourself, I've been putting myself through it, and I measure. What measured can be, what can be measured can be improved. That's something that I subscribe to a lot in all areas of life. You know what I mean? So, and that can absolutely be, like we just talked about, 16 hours land, flooring, running a back, whatever it is, building a deck, okay, versus the time that could have been spent. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd love to say that I would have replaced 8 hours of laying flooring with 8 hours with my kids. We all know that's not gonna be true. Especially when you have teenagers. They may not want to spend those 8 hours with you either.
Yeah, they may not want to. So go lay the floor.
But the whole point is, exactly, find that balance, but just make sure that you're subscribing to your internal belief system. What do you believe is right for you and your family? Not what someone else told you, not what the universe told you, not what your neighbor told you, not what your community tells you, but what feels good and feels right for you. I think that's kind of what it really boils down to. And if compassion and maybe feeling a feminine void, if you're feeling that you need to do that, don't put that pressure on yourself. Put the pressure on yourself to be the best version of yourself and double down on those strengths, because then that's what your children are watching, bro. That's what I'm telling you. That's what they're paying attention to.
There was you had said something that reminded me of from 2019. I had put a post out there and it came up on my social media as a reminder. Hey, you did this, a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was. And I took a screenshot of it because I wanted to reuse it sometime. But in the post, I said, you learn more from adversity than from success. If an adversity doesn't find you frequently, go find something to challenge yourself, because you might be getting soft. And the reason why I bring that up is not only because I want you to go challenge yourself in the present. I want you to take some time and think about, why do you think, act, and believe the way that you think, act, and believe? If you don't understand why you think the way that you think, you're going to continue to think that way, but you're not going to have as much control over it, because there are things in your past, and everybody, and you said this, everybody struggles. Everybody has influencers, both good and bad. Everybody has good and bad experiences, and I want to modify that a little bit. I don't think there's good and bad experience. There's only experience. Like, and I got it. There's extreme trauma and it's like really bad stuff. Like, yeah, that sucks. But I've also seen people come out of extreme trauma and do good things with the lesson, especially going to help other people. Because, you know, what kind of message would we receive if Viktor Frankl wouldn't have survived and told his story? You know, I mean, and if you're not familiar with Viktor Frankl, you know, in the concentration camps in World War II, and he's the one that in the concentration camps, like, they can't control my mind. I will do, you know, and he in this horrible situation didn't make the best of a bad situation. Like, I'm not going to say that because it was horrible, but what he did was, they will not break me. My mind belongs to me. And then he went on afterwards, after he was released, and he wrote several books and he became a great influencer. I get it. Like, things happen. Like, I talk to my kids about this. Like, okay, you're an adult now. Like, I got it. Like, when you were 16, you were pissed, but now you're 22. What are you going to do about it? Right. But the idea of, if you don't understand why you believe the way that you believe, you need to challenge that constantly. And if you're not going to seek out the challenge is going to find you. So you might as well be proactive about it. Because, you know, if me, I've got a fiance and I've got 2 young children, and, you know, yeah, we had a bad weekend. It's Father's Day weekend and I'm being an asshole. You know, let's just call it what it was. Like, I had a bad weekend. I can say all I want about, I was tired and this and that. No, like, I wasn't a pleasant person to be around this weekend. 100% my responsibility. And I need to look at that and figure out, why is that happening? And not only why is it happening, but why is it repeatedly happening?
That's the key. That's the key is you're somebody, though, who rises to the occasion and says, this wasn't acceptable. What do I need to do to work towards a better result? Unfortunately, there are people out there that just, they're not willing to do that, man. You know, and that's what sucks, in my opinion. And it's all because of this big word, you kind of alluded to it. It's mindset. Mindset is a very powerful thing. You know, one of my mentors is Ed Milet, and he's got a great saying that's, you know, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And that is just a little bit of a mindset shift, right? It's a hack, if you will. And it doesn't have to be as extreme as a concentration camp situation, but it can be as extreme as that situation. And just saying, what can I control? What can I control? Huge on display. Like, that's amazing. That should inspire everyone, right? Then you look at little situations like yesterday, as I'm supposed to be, you know, I'm not up at 8. I'm out the door at 8 on the way to the airport. I'm supposed to be at a city council meeting in a different state at 5 p.m. My flight gets delayed 3 times. They're going to change the plane. The plane's got mechanical issues. Then they just cancel the whole damn thing. And I'm just, you know, there's so many people that get frustrated in those situations. And how do I know that? It's because I was one of them 10 years ago who'd have been at the airport, first person, be yelling at the Southwest check-in agent, right? What does that result in? It's just, they're having a bad day. You're having a bad day. The universe is now having a bad day. Everyone around you is having a bad day because of that situation. So mindset shift, like in situations like that, it's like, okay, this didn't really happen to me. There's a reason why this happened. And I'm not trying to get all philosophical about it's because I was supposed to do blah, blah, blah. Just recognizing that I wasn't supposed to go on the damn plane today, man. Let's just roll with it. Let's just roll with it. You know, my day continued with you that evening to do this podcast we're doing right now. My internet connection kept going out. I'm frozen on the screen. I'm like, geez, man. And all I did is I led the entire day apologizing to everybody. Hey, city council, sorry I can't be there. You know, hey, sorry I can't do, you know, and it's like, you know what? These things just happened. You know, there's nothing to get upset about, nothing to get peeved about. I can't really control some of these things. But, you know, like honesty and being vulnerable and like having those conversations, like it's helps to be that person because they recognize it. Like, you know, I'm genuinely apologetic because I couldn't do this damn thing. I showed up at 8 o'clock ready to roll. Right. And my city council folks, they know I put all the time and effort, attention into getting there. It just wasn't going to happen. So call that the force of average. The force of average came at me pretty strong yesterday. It came at you pretty hard this weekend. It's what are we going to do about it? You know, we've already got the extreme ownership component. I know you and I both have that.
Yeah. And I'm similar, you know, with the
ownership of it, right?
Yeah. With the saying of things don't happen to you, things just happen. You know?
They just happen.
We like to think that we are proactive and we act so much. And I'm like, the world is too busy for you to be 100% action. You know, the majority of what we do is reacting to what is happening to us in the world. And how you view that is whether you look at it as I'm a victim, you look at it as an opportunity, or it's just a neutral. You know, I don't even like the idea of I'm trying to eliminate the words positive and negative from my vocabulary because I think they're extremely unhelpful. Because what the hell is positive? That's like saying something's normal. You know, I was actually in one of my psychology classes, a week long discussion of what's normal. Like that was the whole question. And we spent a week talking about what is normal. Like there is no normal. You know, we're having a conversation with somebody who's got a question. He's in India. And I'm like, how am I supposed to tell him what's culturally appropriate? You know, exactly. But the idea of there's no positive and negative. It's there. Like, I wouldn't even say good or bad. Like it just is. Things don't happen to you. Things just happen. You know, that's why they call it an accident. Did you get into an accident today? Did you mean to hit that car? Or did that car mean to hit you? Like, I don't know. Maybe they did, but
yeah, there's that rare case if there's intent. Well, that was their decision.
But even then, you don't have any control over other people. So even if they had intent, you weren't in control of that. So now what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, and I think you said something really well. Like we spend most of our day and our life actually reacting, and we're human beings, man. Especially as Americans, man, we want to control everything, and we have to realize that we really can't. You can't control everything. What you can control is your reaction to every situation. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be a positive or a negative experience. It's just the experience. Now, like I get that 100%, but the more we'll use the word positive just for a second, the more positive reactions you can have if we're just doing versus the other, you know, the better experience that you're going to have chunked up over time. Those all develop into habits, right? And now you're actually leading from a place of positivity if we have to compare one versus another, you know, because I like what you said. There shouldn't necessarily be a good, bad, and the ugly. I have a saying on my wall right there. My favorite is "It is what it is." I've always I've always reacted that way. You know what I mean? It's like this has happened. What are we going to do? Well, it is what it is. Let's just create a plan. You know what I mean? Now, again, 10 years ago, I would have got pissed off about it. And then I would have said, well, it is what it is. Let's figure it out. But now it's just like that reactions because I've stacked that habit over time of not reacting that way, just saying nothing I can really do about it except find a solution, you know, or deal with it or move on, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So
well, that's cool, man. I think we beat this thing to death today.
Yeah, we probably did. Hey, it's all good. It's fun. It's great conversation stuff, man. We cover all the spectrums, but I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to, one of my takeaways here for this individual is really just like, don't focus on that societal, whatever your societal, you know, pressures are. Focus on yourself and what you feel is good for yourself and your family. Double down on your strengths. You know what I mean? That's your kids are watching. They're watching every step of the way. Okay. And the honest to God truth is, I know you've got older kids and, you know, younger stepchildren just like I do. How many times did they pat you on the back like, Dad, remember that one time you stepped up and you were a leader? No. It's, Dad, remember that one time you yelled at me because I dropped my ice cream on the floor? I mean, so the more we can have it stack, doubling down on yourself, I think the better you're off. So
yeah, I don't think there's any reason to try to fill a void. I think that's a trap. No. And I think that takes your focus off of what you're really, really good at. You know, and it comes to, you know, I you know, maybe people are saying, well, I don't feel like I'm good at that. Okay. Well, you know, okay, I'm not good at emotions or I'm not good at affection. Okay. You have to, you know, I'm not asking you to be something that you're not. If you're not an affectionate person and you're not comfortable, you know, touching your kids and hugging your kids, that's fine. Just sit close to them. Like this, just being there. And if they lean into you, then you're still being that affectionate person. Like, I'm not asking you to become something different. I'm just asking you to be the best version of yourself. And if you're a father, that doesn't mean that you can't be loving and connected. And that doesn't take away from your masculinity. Like, if anything, my view of masculinity is being a loving, connected person. And being there for the people, because my job is to raise little humans into functional, effective humans, like not what I want them to be, but what they want to be. And I need to support them on the way. And part of being a masculine, being a tough man is supporting them in however best I can support them based on what they need. And sometimes, that needs to be, instead of yelling at them, shutting my mouth. And just, you know what? Attitude from a 7-year-old is not the worst thing in the world. But for some reason, I can't stop from responding. So, that's one of my biggest challenges right now is, just not responding.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm rising to that occasion, whether it's a 7-year-old or a 7-year-old.
Right. All right, brother, man. I appreciate your time. I know you got a busy schedule, so go knock your stuff out, man. I'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate you, man. You take care, buddy.
All right, man. See you. Thanks to James for his time and insight. Check out his Facebook group, The Golden Collective. That's GOALDEN, The Golden Collective. It's not just for business owners. Anyone who wants to make an impact in an industry, your community, or your family. If you found this podcast helpful, please share it with others. You can help me by jumping on iTunes and leaving an honest review. I would love to hear from you. Jump in the Champion Stepdad Facebook group and let's build this community.